Okay, my watch says 2:15. I like to reward people that are on time. Thank you. It's nice to see such a full room. My name's Becky Gibson. Today I'm going to talk about accessibility testing for everyone, no tools required. The reason I'm not in presentation mode is because I go in and out. I'm going to show you demos actually in the web, and it's much easier to just switch a tab in a browser. So, and who am I? I've been in the high tech, my gray hair should let you know I've been in the high tech field for quite a while. I started out life in support, moved up to development. I've been the last 20 plus years focusing just on accessibility. I am not a developer anymore, but I can still read code and interact with developers and look and inspect and say where things should be fixed. I can't necessarily go into Angular or React as quickly as I might like. I'm passionate about making the web usable for all. Fun fact is when I got out of high school, I worked on a paleontology dig in Wyoming. So that was really pretty and an interesting experience. That was before I discovered computers and programming. But I've worked for Knowbility for a little while, a couple of years, 3 years, I think, almost. And what inspired this talk, and I don't know. Oh, well, we'll go over that. What inspired this talk is when I was at Knowbility, we went to a Salesforce conference as Knowbility, and we had a great setup with screens and remote headsets for people to come. And Anthony Vasquez, who was blind, worked at Knowbility, and we would go and we would just say to the audience, give us a website, and Anthony would try to go through it with the screen reader. So anybody could hear what was going on. And it was very eye-opening for people. We called it making an aha moment. And Anthony actually and I did that here last year, but Anthony's not here. And I thought, and the whole idea was I want people to be able to create their own aha moment. Like we all believe in accessibility, but sometimes we have to convince other people. And that's not always easy, but I always find examples work best. Like show me. And then, so what I want you to have be able to do is have the tools to show other people when they say, oh, we don't have anybody that has disabilities that use our website. You know, you may have heard that. Or, oh, it's not that, there's only a small amount of people. It's okay, it works. Well, when you can show people that it really doesn't work, and you can show them yourself, and you can also make a list of your own company website. I mean, the first thing I do when I'm looking at a new website or somebody says, oh, we want to do accessibility testing for you, or we want to work with you, I go and say, I wonder if their website's accessible. So I use a lot of these techniques. I also, because I'm in the field, can use a screen reader, but that takes a lot more skill. And there's a lot of things you can do without that in-depth knowledge, and you can gain that as you go, but it's a good way to get started. So first we're going to talk about why I should test. I am going to do an overview of WCAG. If you were in my session this morning, it won't be as in-depth, so it'll go a little quicker. And then we'll talk about keyboard testing. We'll talk about media and moving content. We'll talk about color and vision issues. And we're going to look at real websites throughout so that you see this actually demonstrated live. So this is more of a visual presentation. I apologize. But that's the things that you can show without tools. So let's get going. Oh no, I have to use the keyboard. So why should I test? Well, I kind of gave some of that away already. You can show other people. You can help use that to try to make them understand the importance. And you should just do that, like try to support the companies or the businesses that actually take the time to learn about accessibility. Or if you want to write to them, which I have often done when I find that little contact, it's like, did you know your website's not accessible, or your color contrast is really hard to read? And here's how you can fix it. I'm not selling you anything, because in my case, I'm not. I work for a company. So that's why. And again, it's raising awareness, right? Just bringing it to people's attention so there's more people who are interested and who get it. And it is kind of a get it. We're all kind of share the same feelings when we're here, but that kind of goes away when we're not. So you may have seen this referenced in other examples. The WebAIM Million does a test, automated test using the WebAIM Wave tool against 1 million home pages. And they found, almost 51,000 distinct accessibility errors, 51 errors per page. And again, this is automated tools. Automated tools don't find everything. You'll hear different things from different people claiming, how much they can actually support. I'm going with the 30 to 40%. With AI, that is getting better. And the numbers of errors decreased, which was a good sign, because from 23 to 24 it increased, but from 24 to 25 it did go down a little bit. So that was good. And again, this was done using the WebAIM Wave tool. And I did provide my slides to Knowbility, but I didn't do it until Sunday, so they may not be out there yet, but they are shared, so you will be able to have access to them. And the other thing is creating understanding. And my famous saying is, you don't know what you don't know, right? People don't know. If they don't know about accessibility, they're not trying to discriminate. Often they just don't know. Like, they don't even think. You don't think about things that aren't in your realm. If you're a sighted mouse user, that, hey, it works for me, that's great. You don't realize there are people that don't use a mouse. Or, screen readers, some people had never heard of them, right? What? How does a blind person use a computer? What? And I think that's not as much as it used to be, but I think there are still people that don't have that understanding. So you're giving them that aha moment that I was talking about. And it's a good way to enlist your accessibility allies. So let's go through. I'm hoping most of you in the room are familiar with WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. That's how I call it. If I'm doing a more, what I call a basic, like I'm not teaching you ARIA, I'm not teaching you, each success criterion, I at least try to provide an overview. And we'll take questions as we go. I'm happy to do that, although right now we're waiting for a new battery for the mic. So I'll have to come hold up the mic to you, but otherwise, Jan, when we get a mic, we'll come and bring you the mic so everyone on Zoom can hear.
Yeah, probably.
I'll go find a battery. Don't say
It's like
anything
that.
important while I'm gone.
Okay, all right. So it's sort of the de facto web standard for web accessibility. It's from the World Wide Web Consortium, which is done by consensus to go through and create these. That can be a very long process. I actually was on the working group for WCAG 2.0. Way back when, part of my job was to prove that we could actually make JavaScript accessible way back when, right? And because originally the 1.0 guidelines said you must run without JavaScript, which nowadays would almost be impossible because that's the programming language of the web. So, and the current version is 2.2, which was published in October of 2023. There are 4 principles. Pour, I remember it for drinking pouring beverages. Usually I have a picture of a wine glass in here, but I skipped that. Let me say that. Perceivable, operable, can you perceive it with different senses? Is it operable with different technologies and modalities? Is it understandable? If you make an error, do you told that? Are you told how to fix it? Is it robust? Is it going to stand the test of time? Is it going to work with different assistive technologies? It's got 4 principles that I just said, 13 guidelines that go under those principles, and 86 success criteria. And those are the testable statements that we use. So there's 3 levels. I'm going kind of fast through this because I'm guessing you've seen it more than once. There's A, which is kind of the minimum. If you do anything, you start with A. Those are like the highest level in items you should fix. You can argue that because sometimes we'll ask people to fix some of the AA, which are the must-haves that will encompass a wider range. But as my colleagues Bruno and Amy, they talked about prioritizing. So we don't always say to fix the A's first. We say fix some of the ones that are going to have the most impact, that are easiest to fix. Yep. Wait, I got to run over. No, this mic works. The other one doesn't.
Sorry, I'm just curious. Does AA, does that mean 55 for AA? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
get there.
Okay, great. Sorry.
No, perfect. So yes, so there's 31 success criteria at level A. There's 24 more, which math shows us is 55. And then there's 31 more what we call AAA, which is good to have. So AAA, you say, well, why don't, and I said, most companies target level AA. And so you're saying, why don't we just go for a AAA and get everything and be great, right? But some of those AA will conflict with each other, right? Because they're very specific. So they're going to be harder to meet. And sometimes meeting one will make a problem for another disability because they're that specific maybe to screen readers. So that's why most vendors and most people that are doing procurement are asking you for a request for proposal will ask for WCAG, sometimes 2.1, they're not up to 2.2 yet, or AA. So what are the success criteria? They address various needs. People with disabilities, there's a lot of them, right? Vision, color, auditory, mobility, cognitive, or neurodiverse is probably a nicer way to say that. And there are such a wide range of neurodiversity. They're all testables. So that means that they are written in very strict, specific language that can sometimes be hard to understand. But the specification provides documentation for each. So if you've ever gone and pulled up WCAG, somebody says, oh, you got to learn WCAG. And you go there and you're like, you get, deer in the headlights, right? Because it's all of this very technical information, overload, it meets accessibility guidelines. So it's not too small print, but it's a lot of print. It's a lot of stuff. So I recommend that if you do, the best place to start is with the Web Accessibility Initiative. That's the group that creates these specifications, accessibility ones. They have a good landing page and you can pick your role and they'll kind of guide you where to go so you don't have to dive into WCAG. And they have great understanding documents. So for every success criteria, there is a document that says understanding that gives you examples. That's what you really look at to understand what the success criteria means. So with that, we're going to talk first about keyboard testing, because generally, if you have vision and you have access to all of your, at least one hand usually, or even you can hunt and peck, you can use the keyboard. So with that, I'm going to switch over to a video. This is where it gets dicey. And I had another video, to be perfectly honest, that I went to go check today, and it was gone. Like I tested it on Sunday when I submitted these slides. And so if you do download the slides, there'll be a link to a video that now says it's private, but I'll try to update. So do you have to do anything? No? Yeah, well, I'm not muted. The other guy had to do something.
Yeah, you just.
I am.
I'm gonna call it direct access.
There we go.
So what I'm gonna do is explain some buttons and show you some
So-
things. Okay, so give me a second here.
This was from the WWDC, the Worldwide Developer Conference for Apple, when they were introducing their iOS, I see I had it written down, switch control. And so this guy, if you're a little squeamish, you might not like looking at him operate things with his tongue. I'm just warning you now. He warns you, but.
All right, starting from my left to right, I have buttons. And I'm gonna use my tongue, and now you just all gotta handle it. Button number one. It's called move back, move previous. Okay,
Make it full screen.
Yeah, can you make it full screen?
middle button, or second button. Select. All right? Third button, move next. Okay, get all that? Another button on this side for the wheelchair. Another button, wheelchair. Another button, volume down, volume up. Whoop whoop for long press. Water straw for drinking. And it's just water, folks, okay? It's just water. No smell, no tell. Here we go. All right. I'm so glad the front row's laughing. I don't have no idea if any other rows are laughing. Legit. Okay, so if I also want to, I can go into a particular mode in my wheelchair. For Promobile, it's called an iDevice. Now I can use my joystick to drive. Okay? This is legit, people. This is harnessing everybody. You know, the workforce that is disabled, that could be employees if given the opportunity to do so. Thanks, brother. All right, here we go. Now we're just gonna go do some apps and I'm gonna show you some things. So we're good on the face, unless you just wanna stay here, bro, you can keep going. All right. So for example, I'm just sort of navigating a bit so you can sort of see how some of this works. Leveraging all these fantastic apps to do fantastic stuff. So emails, right? I'm not gonna go into my email boxes, people. Okay, I'm sorry. But just to show you that, you know, that you can.
It's pretty much done.
Scanner menus. I can do everything you can do.
Okay. Thank you. Stop. So I just like to show that when I'm going to talk about keyboard, just to give everybody an idea that there's so many different ways that you can interact with the computer and you don't have to use the keyboard. But even if you're using the methods that he was using, it's important that things work with the keyboard at first so that some of these other technologies will also work. So here's the keyboard items, and I'm not going to go into the specific success criteria, but these are the ones that you can test that are related to, all of them, it looks like, are related to 2, which is operable, right? 2.1. So keyboard, does it work with the keyboard? There's no keyboard trap. So if I'm going along with the keyboard and I get into a control, I can get out of the control. I'm not stuck. I can bypass blocks. So most of us visual people think of that as a skip link. We can have a specific focus order. So things go in an order that makes sense and we're not jumping all over the place. Is the focus visible? Because if I'm moving the key and I'm going from link to link and I can't tell which one I'm on, it's kind of hard to pick the one I want. So that's important. A new one that's in 2.2 is focus not obscured, so that I don't get behind a pop-up thing that I can't see the focus of. I also added dialogue focus trap, kind of goes under keyboard, but that's a good example. If you have a dialogue and you're in it and it's supposed to be modal, you need to finish it. You have to be able to close it. So you don't want to go outside of it with the keyboard, because then how are you going to close it? You got to go find it again in the focus order. And in pop-ups, which is also similar, non-modal dialogue, you need a way to dismiss them. And that should work with the keyboard, as well as clicking on a little X button. You should be able to get there. So I'll give you my little, I've put this up, keyboard navigation. So, you know, input elements, I don't know, most people are now a little bit more aware of keyboard, but input elements, you tab. Most of the time you're going to tab between interactive elements, right? And you shift tab to go backwards. Some of them are a little different. Radio buttons. When you get into the group of radio buttons, you use the arrow keys, either right and down or left and up. And as you go through the radios, because only one can be selected at a time, it receives focus, the one that's been selected. Check boxes, you tab, and then you use space to invoke them. Selects, drop downs, you can arrow down. Sometimes you have a button to open them, and then you go through the various options. Some browsers, escape will close and act like enter. The one you have selected will be the one that's selected and put in as your value. Others, you have to press enter. It depends on the browser. And a slider, you use the arrow keys. You can use page up, page down, home, and end to quickly move through a slider. Links are tab and shift tab. Buttons are tab, shift tab. The difference, buttons should activate with both enter and space. And if you use the HTML button, you get that for free. If you're building it from a div, which I wish people wouldn't do, but they do, they use ARIA, the Accessible Rich Internet applications, and say, hey, this is a button, but they forget that a button has some keyboard action. So if you use the actual HTML elements, you're better off. Links only have to work with enter. That's generally how they work. So every now and then, I have to go over here and get things started again, so it works with the keyboard. So let's look at some examples, and I'm, giving you my disclaimer. They're not meant to shame anybody. Again, you don't know what you don't know, but I think I'm one that likes to teach with examples, so they're just problems you can find and report. So don't turn me into the, I don't know, whatever police they would be. So let's look at some places where missing visible focus. Okay, so this is why I stay in the browser. The first one is here. Oh, I forgot to mention on keyboard, if you're on a Mac, you might say, this doesn't work. And on the Mac, you have to say in your settings that you want to navigate under the keyboard. You want to navigate via the tab key press. If you don't do that, you think websites are broken because it doesn't work. And you also have a setting in Safari for that as well. And I put a link in there. Oh, I'm in the wrong, no, it doesn't matter. Let's switch back. So here's somebody, I got, oops, why are you not? Oh, because it's the wrong window. Sorry. Let's go here. New window. Okay. Somebody said, oh, I love their furniture, but she works in accessibility. So the way I'm going to navigate, I just loaded the page. I'm going to press the tab key. And you can't see it. Oh, yes, you can. So down here, you can't read it, but that's the link where that link goes. And we are on the logo. So search, I can see that I'm in search because if I go backwards, you can see it a little bit changes. Now I'm going to go forward. Yeah, no idea where I am. So this just gives you an idea. This is an example where I didn't think of this. There's another example going on here, moving content that has no way to stop. How many of you are distracted by that? Like, yeah, I forgot. I try to warn people when there's moving content. So that's one. I don't know how many examples we need to see. Here was another one. Another furniture. Again, we're moving forward because you can see that I don't even know where I am. Usually I can read it. It does look like we're not even going anywhere. But again, if I was, because I'm not on the site, I'm off the site already. Nope, backwards. So yep, no idea where we are. I'll click on to search so we know where we're starting. But no, I'm not going anywhere. So again, someone with a keyboard can't use this particular site. And how many of you went to the Salt Lick? They also, you got to use the knife and fork to eat that meat, right? So you'd think maybe we could actually get around with the keyboard, but we're not. Yeah, I like to try to, sometimes I have to try to put my focus in here. Again, another moving content, no way to stop it. That's always an issue. I'm going to go to another page. So we load another page. And just to prove to you, there is no focus. So one thing, and this is one thing that people can easily fix, a developer can fix, right? You can, there's always default focus if you use HTML elements. And unless you go to take it away by saying outline none or something, it's, you're doing work You're making work, your developers are doing work to prevent focus. So don't do that. A lot of times the designers are like, oh, that focus looks so ugly. I don't want that blue. You know, developers should have enough skills to say, okay, we want the focus ring to be this color or whatever. So there are some rules about that are AAA for colors of focus rings and making sure that works. Although that's non-text content, so you need to pay attention to colors when you do that. All right. Yep.
Is focus ring?
Wait, we need a mic. Oh, well, that's all right.
Quick question. so you can stay back.
Okay.
But is focus ring, is there a WCAG criteria for focus ring?
So it's asked, is there a WCAG criteria for focus ring? It does come under non-text content. So it needs to be 3:1. Okay, so and there's techniques you can do to make sure that
But
works.
having a focus ring on site is not itself, or not having a focus ring is not violation.
Yes, no, focus visible is, so the question was not having a focus ring is a violation, and that's true. It's focus visible. And I talk about that, well, that kind of comes under keyboard. So I don't think we need to go through, oh, this one is actually kind of useful because oh, we have another, I'll let this load while you're asking.
Have an example where you can show us what it should look like.
Oh, well, yeah, I can pick another site. This one actually has a focus ring. It's just really, really hard to see. I don't know why I'm not getting in here. So focus now is on About Mary Kay. It's really hard to see on screen, even worse than on my machine, but it's like a really, really fine dotted line. So, okay, it would pass focus visible technically, but I would say that it's not. So I'm on satisfaction guarantee now. I think when I get to search shows pretty well. That's sort of the default focus ring for a Mac, the blue. And now I'm on, I don't know where I am. Oh, now I'm way down here into new Mary Kay Great Heights Mascara. So you can see it a little better here. But anyway, if you're gonna make your own focus ring, you probably should make sure it's visible. Let me see if who's a good site to show focus? I didn't think about good examples. Sorry about that. Mobility, why not? So they're giving away my secrets. So they have very visible focus ring. Notice they have a little space around it. Notice here, programs, that's where we are. That's the tab we're on. So they've used a different way of showing that visibility of what is selected in this case. Actually, that's not. I don't know what they do when I click it. They change it. So we now are on the services page. So that's keyboard. The meeting's being transcribed. Okay, let's go back over here. So that's keyboard. So the next thing is, and I kind of gave that away, I gave you an example, there was a skip link on the Knowbility page, right? When I first tabbed into it, you saw skip link. And so often, and this is what they look like, this REI example is a good example. It shows we have up there, and this doesn't have to always be visible. So your mouse users don't have to see skip to main content. As soon as you tab into the page, that particular link gets focus, and you, as a developer, can say on focus, here you go, show it. So we make it visible. So if we go out here, we can go in and tab. So, oh, look, they have a skip to main content. Great. Okay, and I'm going to press enter because it's a link. And I'm going to press tab. Well, guess where I am? I didn't skip anything. I'm up at the top. And I can go through. So I'm going to go backwards to get on that link again. I'm like, if you're a keyboard user, sometimes you try both enter and space, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to press space. Oh, look, good. We scrolled, we went beyond the thing. So now I'm going to press tab so I can keep moving. Nope, there I am, right back at the top. Now I looked at this quickly and it looked like it was implemented right. I'm not sure why it wasn't working. I didn't dive into the code, but so anyway, if you have a skip link, it should work. Okay. Another one was, oh, this one somebody told me about in another session. Popular site. So I'm going to tab into it. And the reason I don't have these preloaded is so that when I load them, the focus is at the top so we can start. So, okay, I'm pressing tab. So you can see I'm on this first New York versus Boston, 6 p.m. Central Time up at the top as I'm moving across that top banner. I don't know how well it shows up. You can sort of see it. So I'm going to go. I'm pressing tab. We're going to scroll things into view. Now, really, all I want to do is get down to, find out about the impactful transfers of the 2025 college football season, which we're seeing on the screen. I'm still pressing tab. So you're a poor keyboard user, or, it might be nice if we had a search so we could find which one of these games we were most interested in. It does get there eventually. I'll go a little faster. So they have focus. This is good. We can tell where we are. Ah, there we are. So I didn't count, but that was a lot of tab presses to get to, and I'm not going to go all the way to all of them. Oh, well, now we're going in a weird order. I didn't notice that. So anyway, you can see if you're a keyboard user, you really want to have that skip link. And then some people will have a skip link to skip to main, skip to their secondary navigation, skip to their footer, skip to their accessibility overlay, which we'll talk about because some of the sites that I did this presentation, a shorter version for Accessing Higher Ground. I did it virtually in November. And some of my sites, they added an overlay and I had to come find more examples. So I added that, a little bit of discussion about that there. So the next one is focus order. So when you come in, and we saw that ESPN, I don't know if you could see the focus was kind of jumping around a little bit. You want things to go in a logical order. Normally in a left to right language, that would be top, left to right, top to bottom, right? Because that's the way the eye works. That's how we read in that direction of languages. So let's look at this one. Can be a little bit jarring. Yep, a question? Wait. Give Jan some exercise.
So for globalization, if you go to like Israel and their text goes instead of left to right, right to
yeah.
left, is there?
The focus order should go right to left.
Okay.
And normally that will happen if you use the right techniques in your code to say you're in our right to left languages.
Okay.
But again, that would go right to left, still top to bottom.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Good question. So this one really kind of, I was afraid they were going to break this on me. It worked a little while ago. Tiki Pets. Love your pets. I'm going to press tab. Oh, what the heck happened, right? The whole thing just scrolled, right? And that could give you a vertigo, right? I should have warned you. And because they want you to send your email address in. Okay, I don't want to subscribe. I'm going to press tab again. And tab again. Oh, now we're back at the top. And we're going to skip to content. Great. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to press enter. We'll press space. Okay, we've jumped down on the page. But, oops, I better press tab, not tab caps lock. No clue where I am. I think I'm still at the top of the page. So again, another one that had a skip link that was broken. So what's the point if I can't skip the menus? Go. I do talk a little bit about contrast. I think that contrast meets, but I said we're not using any tools and you need tools to check contrast. So that's focus order. Again, why you can test this, right? Go to a site, just use your keyboard, tab key. That's all you really need to know. So the next one is missing keyboard support. C's Candies, I think, is a Texas-based thing, right? This is, Anthony told me about this one. So if we go here, oh, I did the wrong one. Wait. If I don't go back quick, it like screws up on me. That's all right. It's hopefully loading. Otherwise, we want to go here. I didn't switch tabs. Okay, great. We're at C's Candies. So I'm going to press tab. Moving content. Oh, good. We have focus. That's good. We seem to be going in order. We're up there. Find a store, pick up a shop, skip to navigation. I don't know. I just went through the navigation, so I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore that because, so there was one that had multiple levels of skip, right? We're getting there. I want to build a box for someone. Okay, great. So I'm here. It loaded new content. Let me stop this for you, and I'm going to use the mouse just so you don't have to be annoyed. Where am I? Oh, I moved my focus. So let's go back to the top. We're building a box. Okay, create a custom mix. Oh, this looks different. Chocolates. Okay. I'm in here, search, box selection. Okay, so I need to select between custom mix lavender gift wrap or custom mix white gift wrap. These options at the bottom. Okay, home, build a box. Oh, wait, I did get there today. Usually I don't get there. And I'm on this custom mix. I'm trying to go backwards. No, where am I? So I really can't get there. So I'm like, okay, I'll pick next. Okay, we're on select a size. Right now, 5 pounds selected, I think. But again, I'm going to home, build a box. Box selection. Okay, good. Maybe it's a radio. I can go, no, I'm already on tab and I get into this. So I'm pretty sure I'm on 5 pound because if I say next, I'm going to get 5 pounds. I can't change that. I'm shift tabbing, I'm arrowing. I can't change that selection. So if I want to order them, I can get 5 pounds, but I can't get any less than that. Again, it's the same thing through this. I can't make selections. So they had the right idea. They're trying to do the right thing, right? They had visible focus. We were going in kind of a logical order, but they kind of slipped up a little bit. So again, so sometimes you have to go more than a few tab clicks in to find these errors. But that's a good example of where we need to actually go through, play around with the website, make sure, first off, that there's no focus, there's not much you can do. There are some tools, but I said no tools were required, but there are some tools that will force the focus. Paul Adams, who's here at the conference, does a lot with mobile, has a book marklet that you can use called Force Focus. So you can see where it is. Let's see what happened. Okay, that's good. All right, so that's our, yeah, my nemesis using the cloud. Sorry, sometimes when I click the wrong thing, oh no, yeah, we have to go here. Get rid of this one. Move this one in the right order. Sorry, I had to reload the PowerPoint because I didn't switch tabs quick enough. All right, focus obscured. This one's a little bit, I wasn't going to put this one in because it's a little bit harder to show, but let me make sure I go to a new tab. This is when you can't see your focus anymore and it's been obscured by something. Hopefully I remember how to do this. So I'm going to tab through this. No, wait, I better let it finish loading. More annoying moving content. Okay. Okay, it has a skip to content. I don't want to do that because this, and here's one where we have an example. Skip to content, skip to main, skip to footer. And good, we have focus. Great. I get on search. Oh, and this little pop-up happens. Okay. Normally when we have a pop-up, if we want to get rid of it, we press escape, which I just did. And I should have turned on my little keyboard viewer so you could see, you could believe me, I really am pressing escape. And nope, all right, so I'll tab. So fine, I'll tab through this. I get to join now. I get over here, there's my shopping cart, new bestsellers, kitchen, cookware, tabletop, home. Yeah, where's my focus now? I still haven't gotten rid of this thing that's in my way, and there's no way for me to get rid of it with the keyboard. So my focus was obscured on whatever that last menu item was, because I think if I manually click over here, yeah, we were on sale. I can shift tab. Oh, no, we weren't. Oh, because I clicked, so I changed the focus, but we couldn't see brands or sale. So our focus was obscured. So that's something that's a little bit harder for a developer to fix. But again, we could have fixed that by making that pop-up work with the keyboard. And I do talk about dialogues and pop-ups. Normally we want them, if they don't have a close button, or even if they do have a close button, they should also close when you press escape, right? That's the universal kind of character. So that we have one more pop-up and dot. Speak of the devil. Here's pop-ups and dialogues. Oh, I can get rid of this so it's more room. No, go away. There we go. Fight with. So this is a site, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon wrote a book called Forever Strong. She likes to tell you about things you can buy or go to her summit. So I feel like, okay, she probably is making money off the internet. So hopefully she would think to implement accessibility, but small business, maybe we'll give her a, so this one, and we'll see what happens when it loads. I might have been here before, but if I start tabbing through, I'm pretty sure there's no visible focus. We're moving around. Yeah, let me see if I can, there we go. So finally this pop-up comes up. Okay, so, and I'm actually, my focus is actually in that pop-up. It's on first name. So I'm going to press tab. And it looks like a modal dialogue, right? The background is grayed out so that implies to me this is modal. I got to do something. I got to make a choice. And if I keep going, I am back out. See, I left, I'm back at the top there because I thought I said okay to that. I did. I'm back at the top. If I shift tab, it's going to take me forever because it's going down to the bottom of the website and coming back up. So it's not trapped. Focus isn't trapped in this dialogue. And that's a thing to look for when you like go out of it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm going to hit, is it about this? I'll wait. No. I hit escape because that's what I think is the universal code. Because when I'm going to click in first name. So first name, I could have gone shift tab, I think, and hit enter. No, even that X doesn't get focus. I get something else. I don't even know what I hit because I couldn't see my focus. So again, focus is key, but also if you have a dialogue, you need to trap focus in if it's modal, so people don't go off. And this is something that really can confuse people, especially if someone's using a screen reader and they also have sight. So all of a sudden the screen reader's telling them things that they're not seeing on the screen because it's reading, the focus has gone back under the page, under the dialogue, and they can't see if they do, because people, they should back up. Not everyone that uses a screen reader is blind. Some people have low vision. Some people have cognitive issues or neurodiverse and they prefer to hear things. So and they get both. So they will use screen readers for that. So anyway, we'll get rid of that. Again, I'm not trying to make fun of people, but I know that smaller businesses tend to not have as much accessibility. So they provide good examples for things. Now, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm curious, when you're in the main navigation, if you have focus on the main nav points, like about, but about has a sub menu.
Yep.
Is it not in compliance if that sub menu doesn't expand? Like if you have to click that and
No,
that takes you
it's-
to the
as
about
long
and
as
that
you
shows the
can.
menu?
Yeah, as long as you can click it and it expands. And then you can continue tabbing.
But if you
in-
can't expand that menu, it's not in compliance.
Right, right. If you can't get into that. Technically, you can probably get to those same pages by clicking on sometimes there's a top nav, like most retail sites work. But sometimes like if you go to LL Bean and you pick shoes, you can go to a page that has shoes and then it has a menu just for shoes that's similar to the menu on the homepage. I don't think I would not call that accessible if the menu popped up on the homepage and I couldn't get to it with a keyboard.
Right. If you hover over a menu with a mouse and the menu expands, but when you're focused on it, it does not expand.
Right, but
even though you can see that same menu when clicking through, you would consider that not accessible, correct?
Right. If it works, that means it works with the mouse one way, that's fine. It works on hover. Or if it works with the keyboard and I have to press enter, that's okay, one extra press. And then I can get to all those items on.
Actually don't automatically open on keyboard focus.
Right.
Unless the keyboard user.
You should be saying that on the,
Sorry.
You actually don't want it to open automatically on keyboard focus because then the keyboard user has to go through that whole sub menu. And you
Right.
want them to be able to choose to go into the sub menu.
right, good point, thank you. Yep,
Hi, if the focus is on the modal, does the background have to be grayed out? Or if the modal takes up the bulk of the screen, or if
No.
it has,
it doesn't have to be grayed out. The grayed out, I find the grayed out is nice because then I know it's supposed to be modal. And visually, I know it's supposed to be modal. And if you've implemented it properly for a screen reader, then the screen reader will say dialogue and it also may tell you modal. So that the screen reader then knows, the user knows as well. Well, the screen reader knows and tells the user. So, okay, so that's my keyboard stuff. How am I doing? Oh, I'm good. I meant time-wise, but thank you. So media items. So there's a bunch of, this goes under guideline 1.2 is, I think, media or adaptable. I can't even remember. I should know them. What? Yeah, time-based media, thank you. So you can audio only or video only if it's pre-recorded. So you have a little clip on your website and it only has audio. There is no visual. So that we need a way for someone who can't hear to interpret that, to perceive that, because it's underperceivable. Or if it's video only and you have all this text on it, we need someone who can't see a way to perceive that, which either you might also have an audio track or you might have a transcript. Captions, I'll give my little spiel. Their captions or subtitles are different. Subtitles only capture the speech so if you have, so a Zoom meeting is a good example of where we probably only need subtitles because there's not other sounds that we need to say. I mean, if the fire alarm went off, we'd probably hear that over the video. But anyway, if that was part of the video or an explanation or a safety video, we would need to say the fire alarm went off or the phone rang. So that's a caption, but subtitles are just the spoken words, and they're usually, you want to offer those often in other languages because captions and subtitles aren't for people, just for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. It helps people that are learning a second language. Or so if English isn't their first language, they can see the words as well as hear them, and it helps. Also helps for cognitive issues. Audio description, there was a great talk by Cecilia on what audio description is. That's like filling in the blanks for people. It's most common like in movies, like if it's important that you see a person walking across the lawn because something happens later, they get mugged by a dog or bitten by a dog or pooped on by a bird, it might be important that they walked under the tree and somebody wouldn't get that, or that a bird pooped on them, because that's not usually something you would see. That's all for pre-recorded things. And then we have the same kind of levels for live. So if it's live, you need captions or subtitles, captions, which we kind of do. We're relying on auto captions. Why are we not seeing them? Nobody's complained? Is that because I didn't say okay? All of a sudden I realized they weren't on. Okay, sorry. And audio control is one so that we don't want audio that plays. That one you can't really test without, well, you can, but you don't really want audio to play because over the screen reader. So let's look at those. Here's some examples. I say this little disclaimer on everyone. So again, go here, Global Parts Company is this one, Genuine. Oh, wrong name. It's Genuine Parts Company. So here we have this company. I don't know what, maybe they have a skip to main. Let's see if it works. That'll move it. Oh, look, it did, I think. Yep, we're now on download fact sheet. Not great focus, but you can see there's a dotted, I can see there's a dotted line and link that focus. I'm down here somewhere. Visit motion, Asia Pacific. Oh, look, there's a video. Okay, I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna scroll with the mouse. Oh, yeah, sound.
That you can count on as a global distributor of automotive and industrial parts, leading the way with cutting-edge innovations, establishing our reputation for
Okay.
reliability.
Well, anybody notice
Around the
what we're
globe,
missing?
our dedicated team is committed to excellence, inspired by new ideas and
Can't
pushing
even stop it.
boundaries,
Oh, I'm
working
gonna
as
cheat. It was me. I had it up too high. Why won't it mute? There we go. Anybody notice what was missing? Yeah, there was no captions. And there usually here is where we'll see the little caption signal. It wasn't there, so there wasn't an option to turn them on. What? No, that's usually download, playback speed, or picture in picture. So yeah, if you saw that, I think if I go back there, we don't have to play it. You see the CC here in the lower right. That's what you will see when there are captions or subtitles. So again, this is your home page, right? You want people to know about your company. It's a pre-recorded video, add captions. I have a couple subtle other examples. So, and I'm not making fun of Citizens Bank. Our company does this. I tell them about it all the time. UKG, they're like, oh yeah, we'll fix that. And then they don't, but I see this often on LinkedIn. So here's this little video. I think there is, no. There's sound, but it's not saying what is here. Because I just turned it on, you would hear it. So what we have here is we have, and it also repeats, so let me stop that on continuous. We have stuff they want to tell you about their company. Like I said, UKG has done this and I've called them out. And there's no way for someone who can't see that screen to get that message, right? So what you should do is have that in your post, right? Just, transcript. This is what we're saying, right? You want to reach everyone, not just people with good sight or that aren't bothered by moving things. Yes, in the back.
Actually, I have two questions, but on this one, is it possible that there's alt text embedded in there that would show up with a screen reader? We're just not seeing it because we're doing keyboard only.
There it is possible, and I didn't turn on the screen reader to verify that, but the alt text would have to be pretty long because it would have all of that different things. But good point. I should have pointed that out because you can now add alt text onto LinkedIn, and hopefully they did, and that's my fault. I should have checked that.
Yeah, no worries. I was just curious. Can I ask my other question real quick? Time-based media, just that terminology, and I'm a little bit new to some of this stuff. Is that just, were all of those examples of
Right.
time-based media?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think of time, this is time-based media. It depends on time, right? It's moving, right? Audio can be time-based media because
Okay.
you have to listen over time. That's the way I think of it. I don't know if anybody has a better description of it.
So Do you, in your experience, do you understand why a public sector entity would exclude time-based media from like their accessibility practices? Why they would carve it out as an exception?
No.
Have you ever
It
experienced
costs
that, or-
money if you have a lot of it to get it. Although
Mhm.
nowadays with the tools that do it, if you are recording something, you can turn on the subtitling automatically, and then most of the places give you a way to edit that if you want to improve the accuracy. Um,
Okay,
But yeah,
that's
I
helpful.
would guess if they have long pieces or just not understanding how to do it. Because you
Okay.
can upload caption tracks to YouTube or other places.
What about media that doesn't have audio? Do you still need to have some sort of
You should have a transcript.
transcript?
Yeah. It only has audio. Yeah. One more. No audio. So yeah, so you could make a separate audio only track for someone and give them a choice. Or you could give a transcript.
A description, some kind of, if it doesn't have audio, but you need to describe what's on there for someone who can't see it.
Oh yeah, I didn't go into media description. If there's something that's important.
Okay. If the closed captions are embedded inside the video and there is no option to turn on or off, is it acceptable?
So if they're burned, yes, that's called open, thank you. I always have to go through and think because it's backwards to me. If they have open captions and they're burned in, that's okay. That's good. I mean, at least there's captions, right?
Right.
And if you can't turn them off, that's acceptable. They're there. That's the most important point. I had one more. Oh, shoot, I did it again. Forgot to go off the tab. Sorry. So I have to go find this time it reloaded. One more. What did I do for this one? Oh, this one was an example. I'm going over here this time of a podcast, right? So again, they have a podcast. They actually got visible focus. And if I bring up a podcast, and I'm just picking one, and I go here and I got to tab through and I can play, but if I scroll down, there's no transcript, right? So I, as a person with no hearing or who really doesn't understand English well and wants to read this instead of hearing it, I can't access this. There's no transcript. And yes, you can say there is a cost to creating transcripts. It's really not. It used to be about $1. I'm sure it's more a minute. It's probably more than that. There are tools that will let you do it. I played around with a free tool called Descript, which will give you a certain amount of minutes free. And then you could also just have your, record it, whether you share the recording itself or not, but you can get from Teams, from Zoom, you can at least get that much. So there's really, but cost is often an issue or just misunderstanding. Again, people don't know this is a wellness site and they have a pretty expensive membership model and they sell you courses. So in theory, one would hope they could afford to do these things, but I kind of give them a little bit of a break for smaller companies. So now we're going to talk about moving content, which we've already seen. And again, we're not clicking. Click, there we go. So the biggest one here is 2.2.2 pause, stop, hide. So if something is moving, blinking, or scrolling, it starts automatically. It lasts more than 5 seconds, and it's presented in parallel with other content. So there's other stuff on the page you might want to get to. You need to make sure that you have a way to stop it if it runs more than 5 seconds, or it stops after 5 seconds. This also talks about I didn't put in audio, but this is where the audio comes in. If it's something that starts automatically that has audio and somebody's using a screen reader, they're like trying to listen to their screen reader and find that pause button, hoping that there is one, because there isn't always. You also have to worry about flashes, but so again, here's the examples. Some of these, I'll warn you, if you're really bothered by that, there's one that's particularly bad and I may not show it. Let me go here. I did put these all in order, so that helps me a little. So yeah, this one's even like that kind of zoom in and out is a little disconcerting. This one isn't as bad as I remembered it. But there's plenty of things that are moving on this particular site. These, probably it's not the whole screen, not as bad as it might be. Another one is, this one got things moving in both directions, so I'm warning you, if you are bothered by that, you may not want to look. I'm using the mouse just because it's quicker. So we have these things going across the screen. This is functional health. It gets worse. This was the one that really got me. Okay, now we have this cool thing showing numbers. It stops, so that's not so bad. But this is the one that I'm unzooming the screen so you can get the full wonderful effect. So we got things going up here, back and forth at the top. We've got things at the bottom going back and forth. I'd be like, yeah, no. You know, you know, I'm like, I'm supposed to read this right as it's moving, and it's just like, you know, the person that built this knows what it's supposed to do, but it's like, okay, you're trying to engage people. So anyway, let's get off that site. Oh, this is, yeah.
I'm just curious if you happen to know how they chose 5 seconds. So you said it starts automatically, lasts more than 5 seconds. How did they choose the particular time frame of 5 seconds?
I don't know. I don't remember discussions on because that's a 2.0. That was actually maybe a 1.0.
Yeah, I think it had something to do with the triggering of seizures.
Triggering seizures. Yes, there is a specific one for no flashes.
Yeah.
More than no flash 3 seconds is the more than 3 flashes a second, because that can trigger seizures.
Oh, that's the
Epileptic.
seizure one, okay.
Yeah, that's a seizure one. I'm not sure why 5. I think they figured 5 seconds you could probably live with it, and then your screen reader could, you could pick up. But that was mostly for, screen reader users and also people that are distracted, right? So that I don't know. That's a good question. Good one to look up. Okay, this one. I was trying to see which one was next because I know one of them's. This one, one of my colleagues actually worked for the university that sponsors Growth Lab, and she kind of told them about this, but they decided to ignore. So we've got this background thing, which is just can be disturbing. And then we have these other little maps that are growing and moving around. We look at this site again for other reasons, but anyway, be aware of that kind of motion. I don't know, I'm warning you, this next one, if you are bothered by extreme movement, you may want to shut your eyes. Warning, everyone. I won't play it for long. This is a designer, a videographer. He really wants to show stuff. This is not the bad part. So if I go into works, we've got even more going on, all this background stuff, and I'm gonna go away quickly so that we don't bother anybody. I hope. All right. So again, this is a videographer. He's probably a small shop, 1-person shop, so I shouldn't be making fun of him. But there are certain things you should be aware of, right? I'd be like, okay, get me away from this as soon as you can, because it's just that movement, that rolling, whatever. We talk about this one in a minute, but I didn't want to leave you on that site. So that's examples. If you want to use it, great, fine, 5 seconds, or don't start it at all. Let the person make the decision to start the video or not. And also make sure there's a keyboard way to stop it, right? My preference is if you're going to run it for 5 seconds. If people want to see the rest or go into the rest, they can go and activate it. Yep. 2 questions. Oh, 3.
Sorry. I was just wondering, you briefly showed the Yale School of Art site, which I understand was originally put up as a joke by students.
Is it?
And then they decided that it was a good way to show what's wrong or to show what you shouldn't do. And so they left it up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good, because I am going to do an example of use it for a different example, for a color example. But that's good to know the history. I didn't find that anywhere when I was looking, that information. So thank you.
I'm just curious. So when you tap spacebar, like there seems to mute and unmute, or like YouTube, it plays the video and stops the video. Was that created as an accessible feature? Was that originally?
Oh, you mean like using the space bar to stop? Well, it is important for accessibility, so it works with the keyboard. I don't know if originally it didn't and they added it. Right, it just becomes, right, and it helps everybody, right? If you're listening, you don't have to go find your mouse and you can just hit space bar.
Forgive me if you're about to go over this, but when you have a header like that with a video that's going and text over it, does the text have to maintain the contrast ratio throughout the entirety?
Yes, and you really don't want to have text, and I look at that in a minute. Like you really don't want text over video, over even whether it's video or whether it's just pictures, right? You can actually, pick a part of the picture, or hey, put a background, a solid background over that part where the title is. And I forgot to include that example, but I have. So color and vision, again, you're going to hear my little, oh, I didn't. So there's a bunch of things. Again, you need vision to test these things, but sensory characteristics. So are you relying on sensory characteristics like positioning, or this isn't, use of color alone is a little different, but click the button on the right or the upper left or the bottom, and then think about when you reflow the page on a mobile, that might not be on the right anymore. It might not be at the top. It might have moved down. So you can't rely on these sensory characteristics. Can't use color alone. So click on the red button to stop, click on the green button to go. Click on the, if you got it right, we color it red, or there's an error, we put a red outline. That's not enough. So you can't rely on just color. That's for people who can't see color or who also are colorblind, may have different colorblind. Resize text is a vision item that needs a bookmarklet. Oh, no, it doesn't, sorry. Resize text is up to 200%. You should be able to zoom up to 200%. You're not clipping any text, right? So again, it's sort of a developer thing to allow text to wrap if you make it bigger. Images of text, this is don't use images of text. Nowadays, when we have CSS and much more CSS, we can use CSS to create what we want the text to look like. We don't need to put an image. And the problem with that is when you zoom an image, it's better now that we have higher resolution screens that you get pixelation and it's hard to read. Reflow.
Question from Rachel.
Okay.
Live webinar Zoom event is recorded and then posted online. Is it considered accessible if you have the captioning with them, but often the captioning is incorrect?
Yes, I mean, with auto captioning now, so the question, I don't know if everybody heard it. Let me just, if it's recorded and posted online, is it considered accessible even if the captions aren't 100%? Yes, we haven't had anybody kind of say not. I mean, you really, and that's what these won't be perfect. I'm not always the most clear speaker, so, and you might, it might make mistakes. It's probably a good idea to review it and edit it if there's any particular ones, like our company's called UKG. And every one time somebody said UKG in a video, it came out EKG, which kind of changes the meaning of the video potentially. So that was something you might want to go back and edit. Like Teams gives you a way to go modify those. Reflow, that's when for somebody, this one gets a little particular because it says you have to take a 1280 by 1024 sized viewport and zoom it up to 400%, which is just math. You now have a 320 by 256 viewport. And that should still be usable without horizontal scrolling, with some exceptions. Obviously, we're not going to take a table and try to move it. You have to scroll for that. Maps are another thing. I put contrast in here. You need a tool to be 100%. Once you've been in the industry a while, you can kind of pick that up when the contrast is too low. But I just mentioned it because they're there. There's contrast for text and there's contrast for non-text. So there's your focus ring, there's your icons, there's, I don't know, other descriptions you have, graphs and charts. So here's our example disclaimer. So this is an example. I have one that's a live one, but charts are a big thing where people use color, right? So this one has issues. It's probably hard, somewhat hard even on the screen to see the different colors. And also if I could see color, all of the symbols are the same. So you can use different symbols for your data points so they're more visible. You can use different line styles so they're visible. You can use more distinct colors, and you really want to have keyboard navigation and screen reader support so people can go through and actually get the values. And there are different data visualization that will do that. What?
New York Times and some of the other.
New York Times is, yeah, good about using good contrast. Yeah. Okay, yeah, some of the bigger ones want that. So I'll go back to the School of the Art, and I didn't realize this was their example, but if this is an example of where you'll see use of color alone. So right now, if we see next to each of those dates, the 12th, there's a gray bar, the 15th, there's a maroonish bar, the 15th, there's an orange bar, 16th, there's a lighter orange yellow bar. Okay, that's using color alone. Those colors mean something, and it tells me what they mean if I filter them. So I bring up the filter, and there's every color going, and some of those would be hard to tell from one another. So that would be an example of using color alone. I don't see this a lot, so I was happy to find this site. I didn't realize it was, they left it because it's a bad site. I didn't see that caveat anywhere. What? Oh, do they? Oh, okay. Anyway, like I said, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I found examples, and it was harder. This one I don't see as much in web apps. I mean, in websites. I see it more in apps, like when you're trying to show the availability on a schedule grid with these light pink and like a pink and a green and a purple and another color as background. That's one that we're working on fixing in our own product right now. So again, you don't know what you don't know. Text over images. This isn't a great image, it's B picture over text. I don't generally describe the images because I use them mostly as decorative. But this was where you were talking about how do you put text over images. This one isn't a perfect site. I don't see that as much as I used to. Oops, that was not good. What did I do? Oh, I opened all those tabs. Yeah, wonderful, Becky. I drag the whole list into here. I'll just pick one. Hopefully it'll load while the others are spinning. So this one had, some of these aren't too bad. I'm using the mouse just because it's quicker to show things. I think I have this zoomed. It gets worse when we go up here. Where is the menu? let me Control 0. So you notice their menu goes behind. And now we've lost any contrast, right? That gray, that white menu across there is hard to see. It's hard to read, shop by fragrance over that other menu. These are small. Even the mood collection and some of these bigger things can be hard to read. We've also got content that's moving without a way to stop it that I see, or I would do that for you. I come back to this site in a minute. So we'll leave it. Yep.
So in cases like that, and I'm thinking like maps are an issue, like with the cities or towns marked on there. So are you saying it'd be better to just put like a dark, like a solid background? Like, would it be like in a little box with a
Right.
solid
Often you
background?
put it in a little box, right?
Okay.
You just change the background color behind it. And I should pull that. I have an example from another talk I did because I talk about that when you're doing presentations. Think about that, you know, using this really wild thing, and you have even some of my transition in my last talk, the transitions I wasn't real happy with because they kind of had a background underneath the image, but it can get really hard to read. So Party Light gets, they were one I could find. A lot of people now that they're thinking, and I got to find that. There it is. I gotta find that tab. This is one, where I'm gonna resize. Gotta pull things up so I can grab the bottom corner.
Need a really good example of the effects of sticky headers and sticky footers. And
Yeah,
how bad that is.
Yeah, that's what this one has, if I
Okay.
can get to my
Yeah.
window.
I've got another one I'll share with you later.
Okay. Maybe yours is better. So I'm just gonna, this is essentially bringing it down to like a, oh, okay, I must be on the wrong page. All right.
Google Kennedy, Beatrice Morrow. School.
Kennedy.
Beatrice Morrow.
Kennedy Beatrice Moore. I wrote down notes. No, keep that away from me. Oh, you can turn it off. Oh, sorry. You can make it bigger if you want.
I just need to learn how to type.
So for those in Zoom, Jan's helping me with a good example.
This has got sticky headers, and it's that one.
Okay, thank you. This one does have some sticky headers, but I think I didn't go to the right screen. So let's look at it, what it looked like originally, sort of. And is it the homepage?
Like tab through the top part and just tab back up. See what the header's already doing?
Oh, yeah, they've already got something in the background. And then I bet it gets worse if I make it smaller. Oh, that's not too bad. That's at the bottom though. So one of the things to really be careful of is sticky headers. Like you have a section at the top that's stuck. And I guess we could go back. I know I had Party Light was a good, and it must be one of the other pages because it was getting sticky. And you'll also notice there's that little accessibility thing popping up. And this one is not doing it, so I'm sorry, but they'll get a header at the top, like their navigation. Most people will collapse it into a menu.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, if you tab through when you're full screen on that one back, you can see the little blue focus under the red and then all this other text there, and it's just completely visibly
So here we are.
confusing.
So we have schools and districts and whatever. And then if we grab it,
down until you get down to the About Us, and then try to shift tab back Go a little farther than that so it scrolls down, and then shift tab back, and then your focus will get stuck under, you're enlarging it, I guess.
I went too far because it collapsed the menu.
Okay. Anyway,
Anyway, yeah, you can see now it's kind of overlapping.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I should find a better reflow example. My fault. Go back over here, and how am I doing? We're almost done. Yep, I'm good. I think I'm done. Contrast, why is that? Okay, it's not showing to you. I hate to make fun of authors, but oh well. Some of, contrast is something that you usually use a checker for, but this one, it's pretty easy for me as an experienced person doing this. It actually looks better here. But this color, this orange on the orange background doesn't meet the required contrast ratios. Again, you can sometimes pick it up just by looking at it once you get familiar. You do need a tool for this, so I'm diverging a little from my no tools required. And I'm not going to go through the tool right now, but I'm just giving you an idea, kind of what to look for if you want to dive deeper and use the tool. I use the color contrast checker from TPGI. Bruno, I liked the one that you showed in your session. That was a lot quicker to pick. The dots was easier to pick, but use contrast.com. And it highlights where it's showing you the contrast for and whether it meets the requirements. Use contrast.com. I thought I had, I did have another one. Yeah, I did have this one. Oh, I am doing the 10 more minutes. You guys have asked questions while we've been coming. This one, I don't know if you noticed when we were on this site, it had pretty low contrast as well. Some of these things that are moving, this in here, changing the contrast. These color bars, they don't necessarily, probably are not, they need to be 3:1. They're probably not. So you can kind of pick that up. I think that green on white doesn't meet contrast ratios. So just an example. Like I said, I'm not diving into that. And so I wasn't going to talk about overlays, but I got together some examples when I was doing this for Accessing Higher Ground, and I went back to check that they were still there. And several of the sites that I had that didn't used to have an overlay now do, right? And so I think there are, most accessibility people hate overlays. I think they can have some usefulness if they're not overtaking things. And as long as nobody's making a claim that they solve all the accessibility problems, because they don't. So I thought we'd quickly look at a few. Well, I had one site had an interesting, we're doing that little mode again, where it's not letting me go to the next page. Unless I go out here. That's okay. I know what the site is, so we'll just go there. I thought this was interesting. Did I leave? No, I didn't leave the site. Sorry. Go here. It's right here. Notice in the upper, why do we have a separate, this isn't an overlay, so to speak. There's no little button that says accessibility, but they say enable accessibility. I must have already, yeah. And so if I don't, oh, I thought it's working today. Okay, so it does have focus. It's pretty light and it kind of goes away. But if I click this button, so it probably is some kind, they've done the work to give me an accessibility mode. It's like, why are you making twice the work for yourself? And it has the skip to footer. We can now have much more visible focus. Everything seems to get focus better, but I'm like, why? This is, it doesn't bother me if I'm using a mouse. I don't see any of that. So why do I need a separate mode. It's just a question. I don't have an answer. But to me, that's extra work. In their case, they may just be loading a different CSS file. But anyway, that was kind of,
Can you go back to what it looked like before?
can I go back to the way it was
Or
before?
Exit accessibility?
Yep. So they did have, you know, visible focus. I don't know what this kind of thing
Like
is.
the fonts are bigger.
Were the fonts bigger?
I think
Yeah,
so.
okay. So they are probably just loading a different CSS cascading style sheet, but I'm like, why? Why don't you just make it that way in the beginning? The other one was another place that I like. This flowers. And my issue was, so you can see, you know, it is here. They do use this one, I think. So I have a skip to menu. I have a skip to content. I have a skip to footer. And I have open the widget. Yeah. Yeah. The overlays added. Now we have, I don't even know whose it is. I didn't bother to look. You know, and I could change the language. I have, this is probably a high contrast mode. Oh, hide the widget forever. Okay. Now, oops, shoot, I have to get it back. So, okay, you know, I could use it for certain things. I could ask for bigger text. I could ask for maybe a invert colors. Okay, and so I said, all right, I'm good. I'm going to hit escape, close it. Good, it closed. But I go down into the page a ways. See, here's where, you know, it popped up, like Jan said, right when it got focus. All right, now I'm here and I'm like, you know what? These colors are kind of bothering me. I'd like to change them. How do I get back to that widget? I don't know. I could either go all the way down and find it on the page, which I think it's being obscured by something or just not showing up. Oh, there it is, way over here. Or I could go all the way back to the top and pick it, but now I'm stuck here if I don't like what I picked. Now, some of them, there's probably, if I'd bothered to read, there's probably a keystroke that will bring it back. But I didn't bother to go through the whole thing and read it. So that's kind of one of the things. It can be helpful if somebody that has a mouse and wants to adjust things and make it easier for them to read and navigate. It can have some helpful things. I'd rather see people, you know, add a widget at their own widget that says change the font size or that. But the biggest thing is most of the overlays claim that they give you ADA here. They say ADA, they don't mention WCAG. They say they give you ADA compliance, and that's really the biggest argument with them. So that's all. I didn't mean to dive into that. I thought it was interesting because I saw so many that were using it that hadn't been before. So that was my thing. So a summary, I've got my 3 minutes left. Sorry, I went longer. I can talk forever. So basically, you know, there were 18 of those success criteria of the 55 that without really much training, you just need to know how to use a mouse, a keyboard, and just visual understanding and navigating through a website, you could test easily. And the idea is, if you come across this, you can show someone else. You can become the advocate. You can say, look, this doesn't work, or I need to use the keyboard. You know, have you ever broken your arm and not been able to use your mouse well? You know, you can't get around our website. You can't, you know, it's disturbing, all this moving things. We have no captions. So you can look at those things and then you can, you know, is there color alone? Change your filings, raise awareness, and become an advocate and address the accessibility elephant in the room by exposing it. There is an elephant in the room, talk about it. We're not accessible. So with that, I'm happy to take any more questions. I know I'm right up against the top of the hour, but we did take questions as we went. So thank you. And I think we're done with a lot of our official talks. We have one more for the W3C tonight, and then we have our unconference tomorrow. So thank you.